having journeyed with female founders closely over the past 8 years, there's a couple of things that I think both of us have noticed, Diane, that sort of sabotage the growth of female founders and their startups. And so in this first three-part series, we're going to cover your mindset, your marketing, and your money. Now, we felt that those are probably the three most important aspects, or the things that we see most female founders struggle with, especially early stage female founders. Diane, I'm going to give over to you just to say hi.
Oh, hi, everybody. It's really nice everybody's watching. And I'm really lucky to have met someone like Antoinette to help me support female founders in a better way. And like you just announced, we're going to talk about mindset, marketing, and money. Three important pillars when you're starting, and even when you're further along the line, it's still very important. And that's why we like to dive into in these deep dive sessions to tell you more about it, to help you navigate the journey, and to support you and celebrate you.
Give us an overview or a high-level view of what you've seen when it comes to female founders and the mindset that they currently have versus what we think they should have when they're trying to scale. Because I sincerely believe anyone can start a business, but it takes a whole other mindset to actually scale and get out of survival mode, right? So what are some of the things that you've seen?
Yeah, well, I see a lot of, it's like that you have the female founders who are very sure of their business and they're going for it no matter what. And they don't get deviated by people's opinions or people saying no to them like 100 times. And you have the female founders who are very much influenced by other people's opinions, by setbacks. They really struggle with imposter syndrome or even fear of missing out on a lot of things. They are usually the ones that have an idea, but they're not very sure about their own idea. And I think a lot of that I see has to do with research. A lot of people who want to start a business usually think of it as like a hobby or it's just a side hustle. So they already start in their mindset not taking themselves and their business serious. They talk, oh, I have something on the side. Oh, I have a little bit of jewelry making, or oh, I make candles, or oh, I just do this. The way they talk about themselves and their business is already letting people to believe that they're not serious about it. And I think that's one of the huge pitfalls a lot of startups make, and even in their first 2 years, that they don't believe enough in their own story and in their own product to really go for it. At the moment that you are really settled and confident in what you can do because you did research, because you've seen, okay, this is really a problem solver for this group of people, or my service can really help these people get into a new stage or new transformation. If you don't do any research, you don't have any backing. You don't have anything to fall back to when people come at you with all kinds of comments and say that things are not good. You don't know what to say in return because you didn't do any research. And if you do research and you tell people, and every time over and over, you become more confident because you're telling people everything. It's like almost like you're manifesting your own business in a way, because you're telling people, no, I created this business. I started it because of these reasons, because I saw there was a gap in the market, because I saw there was a need for my service. And I think for me, when I look at the clients I have and I have helped, a lot of it starts with that kind of mindset. So the ones that are not sure of their own business because they didn't do the research. And it's not that they didn't want to do the research. Usually it is because they think they don't really need to do the research.
I cannot agree with you more on that, Diane, that it is crucial that you do your homework. I always say to founders that if I look like this at 46, can you imagine what I looked like at 26 when I started my first business in my mother's lounge? And so the way that I overcame being undermined, being underestimated, was loading myself with data on the advertising space, data on my competitors, data on my client's business. And that was really the bullets in my arsenal, was research, 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 so that when you walk into a room, you're taken seriously. It is so crucial. But here's a question. You are in the Netherlands right now. You've also worked from Mauritius. You're also based in Dubai. I love this globalness about you. Love that you're a globetrotter. Do you encounter different types of mindsets in these different areas where you've worked?
Yeah, definitely. There's a
Or where
lot of
you've been based?
yeah, there's definitely a lot of changes between cultures, different countries, different backgrounds. I mean, the Netherlands also has a lot of immigrants. So there's definitely, and that's also the reason for me that I only do one-on-one coaching or mentoring, because I believe you can only get the best out of someone in that stage when you work one-on-one with them, because they're very open to influences of other people, other people's opinion. And if you do a group coaching with people who are not experienced entrepreneurs, they get distracted, they get insecure, they don't know what to do anymore because they get affected by other people, and they look at other people's journey and they go like, oh, they're a lot further than I am. Don't look at other people, just focus on you, focus on your own story. And even when you work with people from different backgrounds, people from different countries, you always take someone, you always do something personal. You do always personalize your content, your program, the way you work with people. I do a lot on improvisation, because you can make like frameworks or guidelines to work with, but I don't believe in creating complete courses or trainings or templates for a specific kind of people, because I believe that every entrepreneur is so unique, and so the business evolves around them. So your advice and your guidance needs to be around them and their business. And every business is different. Every business owner is different. You cannot just make a ready for you, done for you package and say, oh, you can buy my startup package, or you can buy my advanced package. I mean, that's not the way I think that people are helped when they're starting up or when they're growing in their business. You really need someone to guide you on a better level, and that can only be when you do it in a personalized way.
Absolutely. I can't agree with that anymore, Diane. And what was crucial for me when we set up the 88 Business Collective was that personalized touch. Because you're right, every female founder's journey is not the same. And yes, there are tools, like for instance, the business model canvas that we all can use, but there are idiosyncrasies that are very specific to a founder, which is why it was important for us to give the female founder access to a coach and to give her access to an advisory board that can really just journey with her personally, right? And so our training and development sessions would focus more broadly on the tools that you need, like I mentioned now, the business model canvas. But that one-on-one is crucial, I think, especially early on, because, yeah, our journey is very nuanced. Also something that I really only dove into after liquidating my first business, was really trying to understand just how nuanced the female founder journey is. And it is, whether the males listening to this want to accept it or not, our journey is extremely nuanced. And I think it's then so important that acceptance is to surround yourself with the right people that can journey with you one-on-one. I think anyone that's listening today that have come across any of my social media would see that I always say that it takes a village to scale. You cannot scale in isolation. You cannot scale trying to do this thing on your own. There's just absolutely no way. I think if you look at all of the greats, I always say that for me, the difference between Facebook and MySpace is Sheryl Sandberg. I think when Mark Zuckerberg decided to scale and take this thing that he's created seriously, he surrounded himself with people that helped him take this thing seriously. And it goes back to the point that you made earlier on, right?
Yeah.
Is that in what you're building? Because your mentors, your coaches, possible investors, your clients, employees can all pick up if you don't take yourself seriously. And I know when I started on this journey 20 years ago, there was this motto that was going around, not to believe your own hype. But I believe that you should believe your own hype as a founder. Yeah, it shouldn't be ego driven. It shouldn't be, your confidence shouldn't be built on outcomes, but it should be more innate. And I think I'd like us to park here for a second, where also, if you've gone onto my social media, your Facebook, your Instagram, your LinkedIn's, you'll see that I always talk about the importance of having either a coach or a therapist, so that you as the founder can get out of your own way, so that you can build that confidence from the right place, right? And that you don't need external validation for you to be confident in what you're building. Yes, you need market validation to make sure that what you're building speaks to your market, absolutely. But that market validation shouldn't speak to your confidence in terms of you knowing what it is that you're building, especially if you've done your homework, especially if you've done the research around what you're trying to build. So make sure that you have a coach, at least at a bare minimum. I mean, if you don't want to take it to that level of having a therapist, because we can deny this fact as much as we want to, even if you are a founder. We've all been through some kind of trauma in our lives, trauma to get in your way or not. And I think I've seen too many female founders especially get in their own way. And so it's not the market, it's not the lack of investors, it's not the fact that the product might suck, No, it's just you getting in your own way from a mindset perspective. And especially, I think, from a South African perspective, where we might have grown up in a survivalist community. And so you come into the entrepreneurial space from that mindset of having to survive, and you can stay there. I mean, I came into it 20 years ago with a survivalist mindset, but I had to transition at some point and sit myself down and say, okay, what am I trying to build? Am I trying to survive? Just survive? No. Can I build a legacy? Can I build an asset of value? And how do you go about that? Firstly, it starts with your mindset. It starts with you saying, I'm done. I'm done surviving. I want to thrive. So I've started this thing. It's doing well. It's churning. It's generating revenues. But how do I actually get it to scale? And how do I actually get it to become an asset of value that can live on beyond me? And I sincerely believe it takes a certain mindset to be able to do that. And it goes back to what you said earlier on. There are those entrepreneurs that step into the game or off ramp onto the highway or dive into the entrepreneurial ocean, and they have this innate confidence that no matter what is being said external, the business that they're trying to build, they'll have the resilience to keep going. But there are also those that don't, right? And if you can recognize that today through this chat, that I'm one of those that don't have that innately, you can certainly build that skill by having a coach. So I think there's a lot of noise out there that female founders have been overcoached or over mentored, and I don't buy into that. I think ultimately it's a combination probably of your village mix that should have a coach, and that coach should journey with you until the day you exit. And whatever that exit looks like for you, until the day you exit, you should have a coach. Until the day you exit, you should have a board. And whether it is an advisory board at the beginning that then transitions into a board of directors, but you should have a board that you're accountable to until you exit, and whatever that exit looks like for you, whether it's IPOing, whether it's when you're old and gray, whatever that exit looks like, you should have these two main elements for me as part of your village mix to help with that mindset.
And do you think if you had a coach in your first business, because you didn't have a coach, right, in your first business, do you think it would have made a difference?
Nope.
That your business would have survived if you had a coach? Or did it maybe mind for you to have a coach that maybe your mindset would have changed?
Oh, I love this question, Diane. You're so spot on. I can certainly attribute, there's many reasons why Afrofusion failed, but one of the many reasons is not having a coach. And so not having a coach meant that I kept self-sabotaging. I kept getting in my own way. I kept making hazardous moves and I kept getting in my own way. So yeah, most certainly. And it was only after liquidating Afrofusion that I started understanding the importance of having a coach in your village mix. And if you've really gone through trauma in your life, I'd say even escalated to having a therapist as part of your mix so that they can dive into some of those deep-seated conditioning and programming that you might have that stems from that trauma, right? So, yeah, Afrofusion probably, I saw significant success in Afrofusion. I managed to achieve milestones that I could not have dreamt of when I was sitting in my mother's lounge at 26 and when I launched it, right? Massive successes. But I believe that I could have done so much more if I had had a coach in the mix.
Yeah, that goes for me as well. Because in my time, there was also not something like a coach. And I was also young and female. So you already looked at like, you don't know what you're doing. And yeah, for me, I think it would have made a lot of difference because I operated with mostly men around me. And that's so different. They're usually older because I was young at that time. And you have so much people just judging you and telling you what to do instead of letting you think. So they tell you this and your mind goes like on a different level there, and you go like, my mind says this, they say exactly the opposite, and then you get confused and you don't have anyone to talk to deliberate, to say, okay, this is happening to me, what should I do? I've been in my business literally multiple times going back and forth in my mind about decisions because I just didn't know at the time. And there was so much pressure because we were growing hundreds of percentages each year. It was unstoppable. And at a certain moment, you just can't handle it anymore. And when my business failed, it literally took me 2 years to get back on my feet. I felt so frustrated. I was so disappointed in myself. And when you look back, you can always say, I should have done this. Maybe this would have worked. But people don't understand. You're like in a pressure cooker at that moment. When things go wrong, it goes like wrong really quickly. And even when you make good decisions, it's like you have to keep your business in operational mode. But on the other hand, you have to save your business. You have to be careful who you talk to, what you say. So for me, my mindset was completely all over the place. And in those 2 years after my business failed, I went to see multiple therapists because I just didn't know what to do with all these emotions and all these thoughts. And I couldn't even sleep at night because I just lay awake thinking about it. And yeah, I mean, when you can all just get your mindset in the right space, that you're going like you make a plan, you stick to your plan, you put the steps in, you put the work in, you get guidance, it's worth so much. And it's so important to even just to have the ability to call someone and say, oh, I just got an email from a supplier, he's doing something really radical, which really affects your business. You need to act now. You cannot just wait. And if you go in your own mind about it back and forth and back and forth, and you need to make a decision, and the supplier keeps calling you, and you go like, then that's a moment that you might make a wrong decision because you didn't have the time to reflect with someone on what you already think is good. Someone who has been there, who had those difficult conversations, who's been in all the rotten places you don't want to get when you run a business, but sometimes it's unavoidable. And yeah, then it's so valuable to have someone by your side to guide you, to take your hand and say, listen, stop right here. It is going to be okay, but you need to keep focused. And I think that is something a lot of entrepreneurs underestimate when they start, or when they're on their journey and they get setbacks. They easily go like, oh man, I had a setback. Yeah. Oh, I forgot to pay my website, and now it's not online anymore. Oh my God. That's not a setback. For me, it's like, that's not a setback. A setback is when real things happen, when the shit really hits the fan. That's a setback, Yeah. But I think that's also the
Yeah.
experience, Same as you, after so much experience, so many years, you've seen it all, you've heard it all. So you're not so stressed out anymore about anything. And sometimes it's not correct to laugh about it, because for those people, it's really stressful. And I just go like, wow, that was your emergency? You called me in the middle of the night to tell me something so simple. And they go like, no, I shouldn't judge it like that, because to them, it's really important. And yeah, that's why I think coaching and mentoring is so important when you're in your business. And it's so important to have someone in your corner. And some people say, well, I'm married, or I have a partner or a spouse. That's not the same. I'm sorry, but It's not the same. It's great when they support you. It's really amazing, but they're not you. They're not your business. They don't understand your business in the way that a coach does. Because, when you coach, you don't just coach a person. You dive into their business. You understand their business, how it works. You know every centimeter of their business to even be able to guide them properly. So, I mean, it's like you're having a business partner without having a business partner. It's like, yeah, like it's almost like a best friend in a business way, like a business bestie or something. Someone you can always call when there's something wrong, or when you have an idea and you go like, wow, this is an amazing idea, and you want to pitch it, and your husband go like, let me sleep. It's middle of the night. So I think it's important, it's, yeah. And you have so many coaches out there. There's always someone who will fit you in a way that you can really say, okay, I don't want to say choose a coach who will be your friend, because that's not the way I see it. I think it's more correct to be like, there is a fit in a way that you understand each other's business, each other's values in life as well, because I think that's one of the big pillars you can build a relationship on. You need to have the same kind of values. You need to have the same mindset about putting the effort to work, because a coach isn't going to do your work. I mean, the coach will guide you and help you, but they're not going to do your work. So do your own work. And they will help you. And that's important. And it's so much more than just when they say your prices and you have like 6 hours a month, and they go like, oh, it's only 6 hours. No, it's not just 6 hours. It's 6 hours one-on-one time, but it's everything that goes with it. I mean, the research we do on our client, on our business, we dive into their numbers, into everything just to understand it better. And it's almost like when you go to a lawyer for something, you don't just pay that high price for just 1 hour. He also does a lot of work you don't see. And that's what a coach the same. So I say mindset is
And
key.
and I love the fact that you touched on that, Diane, because so many early stage founders feel like they cannot afford to have a coach. But I say you cannot afford not to have a coach. It just took me back to those Afrofusion days where my back was against the wall and I didn't know if I was coming or going. Yeah, I mean, I know what it feels like, right? And
Yeah.
so us spending this time on this recording today, us spending time with female founders is really because we do care about the ecosystem and we care about female founders scaling. I think for me, especially from an African female founder perspective, I think 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I'd love for the landscape to be significantly different.
Definitely. Yeah. And that's also why I love supporting the female founders, because the men, not to say bad things about the men, because they also are amazing and they run great
Yeah.
businesses, but it's always more the female who has all the other heads in the household as well. When you look at kids, bringing them up, going to school, birthday parties, cooking. In my high year, in my the years that I did really well in my business, I hired a nanny, and not just a nanny. She was my cook. She cleaned my house. She did my groceries. She entertained my kids. And like I said, there's, of course, men also do these days a lot as well in the household, but to have someone in your corner and to have your household arranged so you don't have to think about it. It's not that you're lazy or you don't want to do things in your house. It's just that you prioritize your business over other things, because there's only 24 hours in a day and you cannot do everything yourself. So it's important to have someone to help you with things when you really are in desperate need to cut down on some time. And I mean, for me, the weekends was like sacred. I had my phone with me, but I really tried only to answer when it was absolutely necessary, and just really spend time with my kids. I mean, my kids were really small at that time, they were really growing up. So, I mean, the time I couldn't be with them, at least there was a nanny. They loved her. I mean, she was amazing with them and she did everything for them. So I was really lucky to have someone to help me, so I didn't have to figure out everything to do with the kids at that time. So that's for me the reason that I really focus on the female founders, because I really think they deserve to have someone extra in their corner to help them prioritize their business. That it's okay to prioritize your business. It's not like you're a default wife or a default mom. I mean, there's nothing wrong with you when you prioritize your business. I mean, it is healthy. It's not like we cannot do it because we need to feel guilty because we're missing out the best years of our kids. No, when they go to school, you miss out those time as well. I mean, what is wrong? Why is it so difficult to accept that a woman also can have a career and have kids? It doesn't have to be a choice. For me, it never was. But my mindset came, like you said, only after failing and after understanding emotions and talking about it. I never ever thought about talking about my emotions. It was like, not done, no time for it. I mean, there was no time to think about imposter syndrome or any other kind of syndrome. Or, I mean, you had a vision and you had a goal and that was it. So for me, that's what I always go back to, because it's like the foundation of any entrepreneur in business. You have to have a vision and you need to have a plan. And then you're already like 50% done or 60% done.
Diane, I love the fact that you mentioned that. In my case, never married, don't have kids, So still very aware though of just how nuanced the life of a female founder is, right? And I think it is Michelle Obama that said, of course you can do everything, just not at the same time, right?
I
And
love
so
her
I
book.
think
Yeah,
as a female founder, the sooner you accept that, the easier your journey will be because, yeah, you can't do everything. It's just impossible. You're going to drop a ball, people are going to be unhappy with you. And the sooner you put rhythms and cadence in place to address some of the overwhelm that you might be feeling right now, the better for you. And I think the best way to go about that is to have a coach. Okay, so I
definitely.
think let's wrap it there for this first session, Diane. So, female
Definitely.
founders, it's so important to have the right mindset, but it starts with you investing in yourself. It starts with you sitting yourself down and having the self awareness to say, I struggle in XYZ area, so I'm going to get myself a coach who's going to help me through these areas so that I don't sabotage my own growth. What's your parting
Definitely.
words, Diane?
Well, I just wanted to say that I hope that everybody who's watching the recording will join us in our live. Stay tuned because we haven't set a date when we're going to do the live, but we're going to do a live on this topic as well as on the other two topics. And you can just mingle in our discussion. You can ask questions. So make sure to stay tuned for any more information about it.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to that. So come with all of the questions. And as you've seen, Diane and I are more than willing to share and be vulnerable. So bring those questions. Thank you, Diane. Looking forward to our next session that will cover marketing. So stay tuned.
Definitely.